Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this week's episode of My First Sketch at myfirstsketch.com. I'm Josh Hyam. As always, feel free to subscribe to the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud and get it automatically. You can catch the show on the Stitcher app as well. Like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/myfirstsketch. Email me at josh@myfirstsketch.com and follow me on Twitter at myfirstsketch. If you haven't seen or heard, submissions are now open for the 2018 Philly Sketchfest. It's the 10th anniversary of the festival, so we're hoping for a big weekend of fun. Head over to phillysketchfest.com to submit your live act, a video for the film festival, or to register to be a volunteer. Philly Sketchfest will take place May 31st through June 3rd at 3 different venues. Philly Sketchfest is also a proud sponsor of the Bechtel Test Fest, taking place over the weekend of March 2nd through the 4th. I'll have more information and we'll be highlighting some of the performers over the next couple weeks. But today's guest is Drew Klemens, currently a member of Jillroy and one of the head writers of Philly Comedy Wrestling. His first sketch is called Bad Cowboy. Drew reads the roles of Dutch, Molly, and another townsperson, and I read Tommy, the sheriff, and I give you all the visual information. So let's go to the sketch. Exterior sunset. Western landscape, outskirts of a small town. A small crowd of townsfolk gathered around a cowboy on a horse. In the background, we have a breathtaking view of the prairie and a sunset so beautiful it looks to have been painted by God himself. The mood is bittersweet. A small boy breaks the silence. Are you sure you can't stay, Dutch?
I'm sorry, Tommy, but I still got some unfinished business to take care of. There's always going to be bad guys who need capturing and good folks like you who need protecting. And as long as that's happening, I've just got to keep riding on. Say it ain't so, Dutch. I'm sorry, Molly, but that's just the way of the world. All I can say is, it's been a pleasure getting to know you folks, and I certainly won't forget you anytime soon.
The sheriff emerges from the crowd, walking over to Dutch. Well, Dutch, I can promise you we won't forget you either. My sincerest thanks on behalf of all of us. And best of luck in the future. Friend. Dutch knowingly smiles before extending his hand as well.
To you as well. I've never been much for goodbyes, so I'll just say, see you around.
Dutch spurs his horse into action and rides off as the crowd yells their goodbyes. We watch from behind, picturesque, as Dutch rides into the sunset, a fittingly heroic image. The crowd watches in admiration for a bit until an adult male speaks.
So, was it just me, or did anyone else think he was kind of a dick? Oh my God, I was so worried I was the only one. So full of himself. He kept acting like something was going to happen between us. I'm married, for Christ's sake. I have a daughter.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm thankful for his help, I really am. But Jesus, that guy thought he was hot shit. He saw me playing jacks in the street a couple days ago. He came over trying to impress me, talking about how he'd been playing jacks since he was a toddler. He even said, slide over and let me show you how it's done. So I did. And guys, he is terrible at jacks. He kept dropping the ball, fumbling, muttering to himself the whole time. We played 5 games and I beat him every time. It was really embarrassing for both of us.
It was the same thing with poker. Me and Gary probably won $300 from him while he was here. One time he even folded his hand after everyone else checked.
Not to mention, those outlaws attacking us were Dutch's old enemies. If it weren't for him, they never would have bothered us in the first place. I mean, thanks for the assistance and all, but I wish he hadn't come in the first place, you jagoff. Now, a quarter mile away, Dutch abruptly turns around. Is he turning around?
Oh, Jesus.
Dutch begins riding back to the crowd. Sure looks like it, Tommy. The crowd waits confused until Dutch arrives, looking slightly embarrassed.
So, it actually looks like it's about to get pretty dark. Probably only got about 10 to 15 more minutes of light max. Anyone mind if I stay the night and we can say goodbye tomorrow morning?
There's a palpable awkwardness in the crowd. Everyone is embarrassed, looking around with blank faces. Some faces show poorly concealed frustration. Yeah, of course, Dutch. Got a room for you at the saloon and everything. Let's go get you set up. The crowd begins uncomfortably making its way towards the saloon. The silence lingers until Dutch feels the need to speak up.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. You know, I've always wanted to ride into the sunset like that, but it wasn't until I was actually out there that I thought about how little sense it actually makes.
His remark is met with silence.
I mean, I probably would have made camp within sight of town. Now, why would I want to sleep on that cold, hard ground when I could have a bed and a shower and a hot breakfast in the morning? Yeah, I mean, that just wouldn't have made much sense, would it?
The procession continues towards the saloon in silence. The end. Hey, Drew.
Hello.
So tell me where this idea came from.
Oh man, so this sketch entitled "Bad Cowboy" was inspired by the trope of riding into the sunset, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I guess I've never thought about that before. About riding into the sunset.
It's about
actually
to get
means
dark.
riding into the darkness. Like,
Exactly.
I'm assuming.
How far are you gonna get?
Yeah,
before-
riding at night. Doesn't make sense at all.
When people go on trips, they don't leave at sunset.
And at the same time, we're not on horses too. So like,
doubly stupid then.
Yeah.
Doubly stupid. But yeah, it was inspired by that, and this was my first attempt at writing a sketch, and
what spurred you to write this?
At the time I was trying to get into sketch and improv, and was considering making some videos with friends, filming some videos. We filmed about 2 before we quit, as these things tend to go.
Are those out there? Like, are these videos like?
Oh, I think one made it to YouTube.
Okay.
One got about 80% edited, but never finished.
That's awful.
Yeah, I don't know.
bummer.
I think you gotta,
So you and a group of friends
Yes.
decide, hey, let's do videos.
Yes.
You didn't do like. What spurred that? Like,
I think.
how do you get to the point where like, hey guys, let's be creative and make videos?
Yeah, I think. Well, let's see. This was around like 2013, 2014. I mean, we were all probably about a year out of college at that point, just still hanging around our hometown, and yeah, I mean, there's only so much to do out in Wayne, KOP, Berwyn area.
Sure.
And I think we just felt like we were wasting our youth and wanted to do something, but not that bad, I guess, because we didn't actually.
And you would so how do you get to the point of finding out about other comedy things happening in the city, or because you're doing this without classes, you haven't done a class or anything?
I think
before.
At that point I was taking 101 at that
Okay,
point.
so you had already found out about Fit and knew.
I found out about that through Hunter Steffes of Big Baby.
Okay, because you mentioned before we were recording childhood friends,
childhood best friend.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go all the way back to the beginning then, since we brought childhood.
Cool.
What were you into as a kid? What made you laugh?
Oh man. Oh,
or growing up,
comedically?
Kid.
What was I into?
Yeah. Teenage years.
I don't know that I ever really started like paying attention to like comedy as an art form until college or so.
Okay.
But I mean, there were definitely things that amused me. Like, you want to go back to like high school?
Sure.
Or I loved Sacha Baron Cohen. Loved Borat. It's a point of pride that I was one of the first people at my school to discover Borat before the movie.
So the Ali G show.
Oh yeah.
And,
Oh yeah. And a lot of stuff that was funny then, but I would probably find problematic now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had thought about that recently too. Like, how much stuff do we like? I'm a big fan of like old game shows.
Oh yeah,
like Match Game is
one
of my favorite things, and I'll like if it's on TV, it's probably on my TV. Like
Wonderful. Yeah, I used
but
to
like
watch so many.
So many
reruns.
of their jokes are just like, you can't say that now. Like,
yeah, boy, times have changed. Yeah.
So yeah, like even thinking back like 10 years, I think Borat was like at least the movie. It was like maybe 06, 07 ish, somewhere in there.
I think it was 2007.
Yeah, like how would going back and revisiting Borat now?
Yeah, you wonder.
Yeah,
You wonder. And it's like the same thing, like I would, like most, people my age who didn't have much self-awareness and anger that they weren't really paying attention to, was a big South Park fan. And like, I don't know, now I find it very frustrating to watch South Park.
I haven't seen any of the recent episodes, and I've gone back to a couple, like, I've gone back to a few of the ones I enjoy, and the ones I enjoy haven't been as problematic as I'm sure certain other ones. Like,
that's fair.
But there's definitely going to be times where like, yeah, for sure. All right. So you mentioned Borat. What else?
Ooh, okay. Let's see. I always loved the movie The Sandlot. That was probably like the one movie from my childhood that I would still watch and like still enjoy. But then, oh my God, while we're on the theme of things that are now problematic, I always got such a kick out of that scene where Squints coerces a lifeguard into kissing him on the mouth.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Sandlot came out when I was probably like
that was
93.
93, I remember.
And it was
that year, yeah. Well, I don't remember
the
year. Well.
And like, I definitely remember like, there was that kind of like, Squints, go Squints, cute girl.
It was like,
but now like in my 30s, I'm like, wow, Squints, you're a dick.
Yeah,
like,
Squints, dude.
Way to be a
like,
jerk, kid.
Squints, just start up a conversation, no need for coercion.
Don't just leer at her all summer, like.
And I think, I did go to film school for critical studies. I was always really into like older movies, so I wonder if part of it was just like the aesthetics of that scene, because it's like shot very well, and then like when the kiss happens, and this magic moment comes on, and it's like. I mean, it's like it's good filmmaking, but it's
it's still a wrong message.
Yeah, maybe the form is holds up better than the content.
Yeah. You mentioned it wasn't until college that you thought about comedy as an art form.
Yeah.
So what triggered that?
Oh man, starting to see the possibilities of stand up and like what it could mean. I mean, stand up's not something I've ever tried, but it definitely was like sort of a gateway into like comedy with intention and comedy with meaning. John Mulaney for sure. Man, just so in control, which I really appreciate. And then like, I'm sure like many other people in our community, college was sort of a time when like mental health issues started cropping up, and like I started noticing them, whereas before I was probably just powering through. But Maria Bamford was really eye-opening because I really felt like she approached stand-up in like a therapeutic way that a lot of people didn't. And Rory Scovel was another, because I just felt like he was always trying to do something different. I felt like he never was just trying to go out there and like, set up punchline.
Yeah, I know Rory Scovel. Like, I don't think I saw or listened to his first record, but he did that a recent thing on Netflix. Like, I think it's like Rory Scovel tries stand up for the first time.
Yeah,
and it's still weird. Like he's still very
doing
weird. What he wants, like doing it that way.
I have a funny anecdote I heard about his first album that I love so much. Is whereas most stand-ups will tour until they feel the special is ready,
right,
and then record it. He recorded it halfway through the tour.
Okay.
And so the product on the album is not refined,
right?
As you'd expect.
Right.
It's very like free flowing and sort of rambling at times. And his line of thought was, well, now people can come see the finished product when they come on tour. And I mean,
that's interesting.
You can debate whether that's like the right way to do it or not. But I just love people who try
that's
things
like,
differently.
Yeah, that is definitely the exact opposite of the stand-up recording mentality. Like,
yeah, or the formula that's
like
sort of
the people that will say
expected.
once it's recorded, I can no longer do this on stage. Gotta start over.
Gotta
Like
start over like that. Yeah, that's what Mulaney does, and just like like really treating like albums the way that great bands or artists would treat an album.
Whereas
just like this is canon.
Like I can name certain stand-ups that I've seen live, and they're doing stuff that I've heard recorded.
Yeah,
and it bums me out that they're like, like I understand that the Roy Sokoval, like, see how I've gotten polished versus I've been doing the same jokes for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I think that's fair.
It's a weird dichotomy, especially like when you think about it in sketch terms. Like, how many times can you do a sketch before it's lost its power? Like, how many times can you do it for the same audience?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so Improv 101, childhood best friend hunting Steffes. Okay, yes. I can never remember if there's an N in there or not. Introduces you to Improv 101 or the idea that it's happening. So
all the credit goes to him.
Okay,
the fact that I'm even here right now. He bugged me for the better part of a year.
Oh, he actually like actively prodded you to do
he was
it.
like, dude, do this. Okay. You'll have fun. Like, the unspoken part being like, you're really fucking depressed and you're not doing anything right now.
So let's
like, come on,
get
man.
You out of
let's
it. Okay.
Meet some people. Let's
all right. So Improv 101. Who was the instructor?
Kevin Pettit.
You did two? 201?
201. 201 was Mike
Marbach.
Mike Marbach.
Okay. 301.
Mike
Marbach. Yeah. 4.
Mike.
So, okay. So
yeah.
Couple months ago, I talked to my friend Ian, and he did classes up at UCB, and he did most of his classes with Shannon O'Neill, to the point that Shannon O'Neill yelled at him to take a class with someone else.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that like he wasn't getting in her headspace, like getting variety. So how do you feel about doing 3 levels of the curriculum with the same instructor?
I mean, it was a result of scheduling. It wasn't something I had set out to do.
Okay.
It was just like, this is the one that fits my schedule, and it happens to be taught by Mike.
So you weren't going like, I like Marbach, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I don't like Mike.
But
I do like Mike.
It is a different thing between like, the class falls on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Okay. That's true. And I mean, whereas Shannon O'Neill, I can definitely see being the type of person to yell. Mike would never do something like that, but when he saw that I had signed up for 401, he said something.
Like he might be like, "What?"
He's like, by the way, I saw that. You're gonna have your 3rd level with me in a row, and maybe the unspoken part of that was, "What's up, dude? Why are you doing that?" But no, I found that really helpful, honestly.
Did you do conservatory?
From him. I did a conservatory with Caitlin Weigel.
What was that one?
The museum.
Oh, the one that just recently? Or
relatively
recently?
Yeah, I believe it was in May or June.
Oh, not as recent as I thought.
But still like the last year. That's recent, It's all been a blur, right?
Tell me about the museum.
The museum was a blast.
I ever saw
the museum was we would get really dressed up in suits and fancy dresses. We would take an object from the audience. We would solicit an object from them, and we would have to create a history for that object, and then sort of do a number of scenes. Inspired by the history we had created.
So you're just stealing something, like someone's just giving something out of their purse.
Oh man,
and
it was like car keys the first week, and we were like, Jesus, I hope it's not car keys the next 3 weeks. But we did, we got some like interesting stuff. We got like, it was like a mosquito repellent called Mosquito one week, and it was just, it was great that it wasn't keys all the time.
It's an interesting form. I like that.
Yeah,
I tend to think that the conservatory classes that have a theme, that have a premise like that, make me feel better about improv than I normally do.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a huge improv person.
Hey, fair enough.
Okay, so you're in the midst of 101 when you start writing.
Yeah, I think that's how
to film with your friends.
Yeah, and I think that coincided with the break I took, if I'm remembering it right.
Oh, you broke between
101 and 201 for financial reasons. I just didn't have the money for 201, so I kind of just sat around for a year.
Were you still seeing things? Were you still?
I was still coming to shows.
Okay.
Yeah, I was still coming to shows occasionally, but mostly I was just working at a Bed Bath & Beyond.
Right.
So,
Right
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, retail.
2013? Yeah. No, that was 2014.
Okay.
2014 was my lost year. Yeah.
Okay. So now, like, the big thing I knew you from before we start talking was Brought to You By.
Brought to you by.
So where does that start? Where does that come from?
Brought to you by. I was very lucky and blessed to be added to the cast at the time. I was in 301. I knew Pete Zegrish from high school, and I knew Casey Hogan decently well, and they were just looking for
More people.
additional help. And I've never been shameless, or I've always been shameless. I don't know if I'm phrasing this right, but I said, hey, if you're looking for help, I'm available.
Well, it definitely speaks to the idea of it's who you know.
That's so
as
true.
much as anything.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean that as in the bad sense, because
I mean, for better or for worse.
you don't want to be like nepotism, favoritism, or anything. But like, hey, your friends are doing something.
Yeah.
Do something with your friends.
No, I mean, it definitely, like, knowing people who were already established worked to my benefit. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's fair. And I mean, I felt guilty about that for the longest time. Like when you see all the people that are just hustling nonstop to just like get that opportunity. And then,
After, all right, Brought to You By, what else is coming up? What's in the pipeline for you?
So Brought to You By ended in December 2016. Since then, I did a game show at FIT with my friend Sheree called Grown Ups Make Friends, but that ended recently.
What was that about? Tell me about Grown Ups Make Friends.
It was, it's a shame because I really think we were onto something there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like certain days of the week and time slots are just tough to get. But I really felt like we had a good formula. We would have groups of people on that knew each other, and we would have them all in character, and they would play like a series of games to sort of test their friendship compatibility as characters. And then at the end of the night, someone would win, and like they would be the champion of the show and whatnot.
And that was generally like Thursday,
that was Thursdays at 7:30, and briefly Wednesdays at 10.
Thursday at 7:30 is a death slot, and it has been.
It's I
forever,
don't know how to fix it. I don't
either.
Yeah, I don't want to like blame anyone because it's just how it is.
But that Thursday 7:30 is rough.
Yeah, I would be open to like maybe retooling it and bring it back. Also, since then, let's see. A couple indie teams and projects as always.
Like what? Like
I was on a team called Zoo Balloon, but I had to leave when I made a house team. And I'm not complaining about that, obviously.
Which house team is this?
Jillroy.
Okay.
Come check us out Wednesdays at 9 through the end of February. Yeah.
Just through the end of it, like.
Yeah. So the new system at the theater is Wednesday teams are going to get 6-month runs because I think they just want to keep a nice rotation going. So currently on Jillroy, but that will end in February. Also a member of Core on Sunday nights.
Okay.
And we got I got PCW coming up.
All right, let's break into PCW.
Woo woo.
Because people that have listened to this know my history with comedy wrestling.
Wonderful.
Back in the Fringe years, like was it 2012 Fringe Festival? We did Pro Mania. So tell me about your approach to PCW, the Philly Comedy Wrestling.
Oh well.
Or let's start with how it started, with how the idea comes back and how you get involved.
Okay, so I guess the idea would have came from discussions with Joe Tuzzi, because we both love wrestling. And Joe was one of the people who quickly became like one of my good friends at the theater because like everyone who knows him knows he's the nicest guy in the
world.
world.
A good dude.
He's just an A+ human. Props to Joe. So I wanted to work with Joe. And the funny thing was, we pitched it right around the time that they were casting, like Jillroy and Fan Club. I've been through the callback audition process before, so I sort of was generally aware of the timeline of when like the emails go out to the people who get them and then the people who don't get them. And we were waiting to hear back, and it felt like it was taking long. And I was, basically in my head, I was like, Jesus Christ, not again. Are you kidding me? Seriously?
How many times did you audition without getting something?
Okay, so I can't complain too much because I made a team on my third time.
Okay.
But it was tough because my second time I got one spot away from a team that happened to be coached by my childhood best friend.
Okay.
And that was personally devastating. I know he didn't mean it to be, but that's,
team
that's
dynamic.
how I took it. Yeah.
That doesn't, not necessarily a reflection on you.
So I really had a chip on my shoulder after that for like a year. And I tried to practice at least 3 times a week and I really had a chip on my shoulder. It's still there probably. So we, I was basically I'd spent a whole year just trying to get as good at improv as I could. And then, the Jillroy round came up. And there was a point I was convinced that I wasn't going to get it again. And I talked to Joe and I said, Joe, I don't think I'm going to have anything going on in a couple months. Do you want to just pitch the wrestling show with me? And then we both ended up being cast on the same team. So that was
partially helpful. So you guys pitched PCW.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so let's talk about your approach because there's a lot of comedy in wrestling, and I think comedy could learn from wrestling because there's certain things about wrestling that I think apply.
I think there's a lot of
to the world comedy, but comedy about wrestling, can be difficult.
Yeah, and I think we're still figuring that out. I guess I don't want to reveal too much of the plot.
Okay. we don't have to talk about plot.
In case people do want to,
we can talk about
check it out. But we just sort of have this idea to recreate like a pretty, I guess, well-worn formula for wrestling storytelling, like the sort of storyline you generally see among people, and hope that a lot of the comedy just comes from how unfit we are to do it, but still playing it straight as if we are.
So the wrestling storylines that you have conceived aren't necessarily the comedy. Like,
I wouldn't say they're groundbreaking.
You're not doing you're not doing, really absurd storyline. Like,
no, I mean we're gonna have like a couple like comedy matches in between, and hopefully some comedy spots. And our main event's looking to be pretty large and complicated at this point. It's going to be like a 6-on-6 elimination match.
Oh goodness.
I don't even know how we're all going to fit on the second stage at the same time, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out. But I wouldn't. I think we're still trying to figure out the right balance of like comedy and wrestling, and also like how do you make a show that's funny to wrestling fans but still accessible to non-wrestling fans.
And that's the other thing is that like I forget who it was, but like you can, the idea of laughing at wrestling isn't always welcome because so many wrestling fans take it seriously, take it so seriously that like oh, you're mocking something that like
and we all have our trash, that's what gets me. It's like we all have terrible stuff that we like, so just let me like my terrible stuff.
And I think now if people know what's going on in wrestling, there is a huge push for comedy in wrestling being accepted. Like, are you familiar with like the Joey Ryans and the Colt Cabanas?
Joey Ryan for sure. Yeah,
where Joey Ryan is a independent wrestler, not signed by WWE or any of the big companies. He went to Japan and created this move where a Japanese character, who is he plays a homosexual wrestler for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy grabs Joey Ryan's junk, and the strength of Joey Ryan's junk is able to flip this guy over. And Joey Ryan has made himself more popular. Like that video went viral. We can I'll put it up on the Tumblr. Like, but he's been doing this for the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's really
pretty much.
He's really been able to make something out of it.
Of just
like really raise his profile.
One weird, nonsensical move.
Yeah, I guess I'm of a couple minds about it because it is very juvenile, obviously, but like. God, I mean, in wrestling, you just gotta find something that works and just like beat that dead horse, until there's nothing left.
Because and we do live in a world where, he's not on TV. Joey Ryan's not on TV every week, doing this every week.
Yes,
but he is going to little towns every week, and this whole new audience is seeing it for the first time. Like, so I guess there's a balance between, I don't know, like.
And I mean, I
the
do
regular
find it funny,
fan, like
because of the absurdity of it.
I found it funny the first time. I'm like, after a while, I'm tired of it. Okay. Or like he's done it basically like every match. Like bring that out every once in a while, or
have that be a super finisher.
Like my favorite is Cole Cabana, like his comedy, or Chuck Taylor.
Oh yeah,
and Chikara.
Oh, yeah.
Like
okay,
the absurd group that he had created around him, where in Chikara he's got a group called the Gentleman's Club, where it's him, Drew Gulak, who is a collegiate wrestler, who's now in WWE
doing great work.
Orange Cassidy, who I cannot describe him. Like, he is like slacker to the max. Doesn't run, doesn't like. The laziest wrestler ever.
All right.
And then a swamp monster.
Okay.
Well,
Chikara I'm not as familiar with, unfortunately.
And a guy who's just in a ghillie suit as a swamp monster, who also happens to be gay.
Okay.
That was revealed a couple years ago.
The character? Or
Swamp Monster, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The character Swamp Monster is gay.
That's progressive, right?
I'm trying to remember which wrestler he was gay for. Like,
okay.
Because it was geared to one specific person. But you have to like Google out some of that stuff.
Yeah,
like some of their shenanigans are great. But okay, so comedy and wrestling.
Yeah.
Or comedy about wrestling. There's a lot of things in wrestling that you can make fun of. There are tropes, there are patterns.
Absolutely.
This, like, wrestlers are doing the same shtick that they've been doing for 30, 40, 50 years. Like, I need quiet from the audience, like, the bad guy. If you guys don't shut up, I'll leave. Like, and it's old hacky stuff, but the crowd still eat it up and still do it. Like, so you are doing physicality. Like, there are going to be some kind of
a couple matches. And a couple of those. Yeah, like we have 4 matches on the card.
Okay.
3 of which are going to be played for maximum comedic value, and then the 4th one is where we're going to try to like find that middle ground and really like tell a story.
Do you guys have any involvement with any local? Because I know Joe has done stuff with the Chikara group.
No, we haven't gotten Chikara involved. I want to say someone reached out to him about helping, but God, it's just been like so much going on. Yeah. I don't think Bob McQuaid's helping us out. Bob McQuaid, who wrestles as Bobby Banks.
Okay, I remember seeing him.
Yeah, he's going to be the ref to make sure we don't hurt each other too bad. But I'd say Bob is our sort of closest
he's
involvement.
The consultant. He's the
our real technical advisor. I mean, if it goes well, we do have plans to like bring it back in a couple months, and we have some people in mind. A lot of people we just couldn't get involved this time for scheduling reasons or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia is a.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot and like say like, yeah, I'm promising that they'll be there.
Well, it's 3 months from now, so you have time to work on it.
Still.
So the show's going to be 4 matches. 3 of them are strictly comedy. Like,
yes, they'll be fairly short. Just trying to make people laugh.
What kind of characters are people coming up with? Like, okay, the writing process.
I'm very excited.
Let's talk about the writing process of it. Like, is it like you and Joe are listed as head writers?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like 4 or 5 others, maybe 6 or 7. Like,
we've had about 6 or 7 other people helping us with the writing.
The table of you pitching things, are people coming with their own character and their own ideas?
Our writing sessions have been very, very loose. Most of the productive work on this show has been done when we're by ourselves working on it and writing, because when we get together, we get very unproductive. Just sort of have a bunch of people over, watch Raw, end up just like ordering food and talking the whole time, and they're a lot of fun. But but
it's not necessarily helpful for a show being written in a couple of weeks.
So the writing process the actual writing process has been more sort of just individually, and then coming together and discussing how to bring it into fruition, I guess.
I totally glossed over this earlier about Saturday Night Live. Like, I talked to everyone about Saturday Night Live and the juggernaut that it is. Do you have a favorite cast member
from Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, history.
God. I really enjoy Kyle Mooney's sensibility.
Really?
I really do. Yeah. I think it's just, I don't know. I guess philosophically, like, I don't look to comedy to just make me laugh. I like when comedy makes me feel other things as well. And I think so much of it is just about provoking some sort of reaction from people.
Okay.
Some sort of emotional reaction. I always found him really interesting. Even the sketches he did before he was on the show, like the Good Neighbor stuff, and I think the stuff he did with like Nick Rutherford, like just in his apartment. He always seems to be playing with the conventions of like what you'd expect.
Yeah, there's a lot of those sketches, the videos that they've done that are, I guess they are playing on the tropes and cliches of like sitcoms.
Yeah.
Those weird. There's a bunch of those where like
he has a couple of those real weird, like sitcom 90s
where it almost feels
pastiches.
like Adult Swim-ish.
Yeah, just
where it doesn't fit on Saturday Night Live, or at least it's not the same thing that Saturday Night Live has ever done.
Absolutely. It's like Family Matters through the eyes of Tim and Eric or something like that.
I'm not a big fan of Tim and Eric either, so
that's fair. I mean, I generally like them, but I think I have mixed feelings. But I just like I remember this one sketch where he's crying in his apartment because he didn't get home in time to record his favorite show, MTV. And Nick Rutherford is trying to explain to him that, no, MTV is a channel and you can turn it on and it's going to be on. And he's just dismissing him. And he's like, no, David, I'm not having
Good Neighbor era.
I think Beck wasn't involved with this particular sketch, but just stuff like this was so interesting to me. And then like he would break. And he just kept it in.
Okay.
He kept it in the video. And I was just, it was all this stuff that was just like, oh, you don't have to do it the way everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, you don't have to be clean about it. You don't have to.
So I do really love Kyle Mooney. I'm trying to think if there's like someone who I really gravitated towards like growing up on SNL that like really. Oh, this is so weird. When I was a kid, I loved Dennis Miller Weekend Update. Any reruns of Dennis Miller era Weekend Update. I just thought his energy was so different and like weirdly like aggressive and smug and
definitely.
He was just so.
Because I'm trying to think. You're a couple years younger than I am.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't my time.
He definitely wasn't your time.
Yeah.
You were barely born when he was on the show. Like,
I was born in 89.
Yeah, so he was halfway through.
Yeah,
his run. So what is it about? Like, okay, so looking back at jokes that were written 15 or so years ago.
Yeah,
did you understand like the historical nature of the joke?
Oh God, no.
So it was all just his like delivery.
It was like
the character of him.
That extreme confidence was something that like stood out to me. And I mean, I have to. I mean, this probably goes without saying. I can't stand Dennis Miller now.
That was the next thing I was going to bring up was you're watching this version of a person who has transformed.
Really has.
Like,
has really just
from then
crossed
to
the other side.
So, were you aware of that were you aware of Dennis Miller late
I was
80s,
and I was in denial about it.
And
in fact, as
what
a kid.
became of Dennis Miller?
As a kid, yes, and I was in denial. I remember this was like my consciousness of Dennis Miller began around the time that he was like on Monday Night Football for a couple weeks, and God, when he had a show, I think it was on CNBC, where he was trying to like recreate the magic of Weekend Update, and I watched it wanting to like it because I was like, oh, this is that guy I love, and just God, it was hateful.
Oh, this is that guy that I love from those weird videos from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on.
But he's just so compelling, and like that's really all it is. And then like
that's so weird.
The comedy was just so hateful and just like
because
I mean I grew up very liberal, and like still am. So yeah,
I wonder about that now. Like I mean, we talk about the heroes that have died, or their heroic status have died because of their actions.
Yes. Yeah.
We can the curse words that have become CK, Cosby,
absolutely.
And I can't I was the weird story that I hope will make sense as I explain it. My computer crashed a couple of weeks ago, so I was backing everything up and where I was restoring from the backups, and like my Cosby records noticeably showed up in the transfer.
Okay.
And I'm just like,
it's like do I continue?
Like I have those.
Yeah.
And I can't listen to those anymore.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
That's fair.
That's rough. That sucks.
Yeah.
But like even like now, granted, Dennis Miller might not be an abuser, a monster in that way.
As far as we know,
but he is kind of a jerk, kind of a tool.
Yeah, he's trying to make life more difficult for a lot of people.
Like,
just smug.
At what point when
a
comedian's ideology changes, is he no longer like representative of what you liked in the past?
Yeah,
Like, can you watch?
Interesting.
Like, can you watch a Victoria Jackson video from Saturday Night Live without thinking, "Oh, this woman's crazy now"? Like, this woman.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't even think about that with Victoria Jackson, but like she is kind of
she's on that list
politically very similar to Dennis Miller. Yeah, I don't know. I think because there's a weird part of me that still really enjoys Dennis Miller Update.
Yeah, I'm just like really intrigued by this overlap of watching him in the past and knowing who he is growing into at the the time. Like, it's a really weird dichotomy to me. It
was odd.
I'm finding really interesting.
Experience. I think that's when I learned to start compartmentalizing.
Oh, Dennis Miller before 91's okay.
And Tiger Woods pre 2007. Love Tiger Woods. No, stuff like that though.
What's something that you've learned from comedy that you would pass on to someone that's getting started?
Oh man, doesn't matter how good you think you are. Be humble.
Humble?
Yeah, be humble.
I don't think.
Be humble for your own sake.
I don't think that might be like the deepest, most like.
It's the
deepest part of like advice I've gotten so far from people who have asked.
I mean, if I could go back in time to the start of 2015 in a little time machine and talk to myself, I'd slap myself in the face and I would say, hey, like, listen the fuck up.
Were you a jerk?
I wouldn't. I don't know. You'd have to ask other people. No, but looking back on myself, I'm definitely like not proud of like the attitude I had where I just thought like, I don't want to blow anyone's spot up, but when I was like starting to get in, and like Hunter wasn't the only person who tried to like bring me in. There were like other people, and at one point someone said to me, like, I think you should do this because I think you can stand up to anyone else in this city. And I wish I had never been told that, because that really skewed my perspective. I came in, I was like, oh, I'll just take the classes. It'll be so easy. And it's just like, I don't know. So I think hearing that before starting really tainted my attitude in a way that I'm now very ashamed of. And just like, I mean, you see so many people that are, as you keep doing this, you see so many people that are so extremely talented and so humble and just like really admire as people. And yeah, there's no reason we can't all be like that.
Or really should, like, there's no reason we shouldn't be like that.
I
sure.
really feel that very much now. Yeah.
So you have PCW this week, next week, whenever I put this up.
Yeah.
Killed Jillroy.
Jillroy?
Because I'm getting it confused with Killroy, Jill.
Oh, yeah.
There's like four
Killroy
different things that
inspired it.
Yeah. Jillroy
dies end of
February. What's next after that?
Definitely gonna keep improvising and auditioning. Improv is something I've grown to rely on. It's if I go too long without doing it, I start feeling like the itch.
Okay.
Like even a couple days, and I'm just like, I need
couple days.
Yeah.
Wow.
I practice a lot.
Wow.
I still have that chip on my shoulder. I will hopefully PCW goes well and we can turn it into the type of thing we do a couple times a year. I'll do core as long as they let me do that. I love doing that. I love I'm not sure if you know
core
it's
I know there's some kind of student involvement.
Yeah, there's a rotating cast, and then there's like a company member buddy and a student who performs every week.
Okay.
And that's I like doing that. I think it's a really great way to like meet people and see like who's getting started and like I don't know. I really love doing it. And I don't know. I think 2018 a couple comedy things I want to do, but more just focus on my personal life, because I was kind of neglecting that when I was just trying to get as good at improv as I could. I was very singularly focused on that. So
that you were one of those guys that was like at the theater a lot, like teching stuff.
Oh, I do. I still tech.
Like,
still tech a lot. I'm still there sometimes, like 5 nights a week.
That's I don't want to say insane, but
hey, it could be.
That feels too much to me.
Hey, that's I mean, the past 2 months I've had to take a bit of a step back for semi-related reasons, and just other my personal life is like just a tornado of poop right now. So I'm really at the moment focusing on that, and I don't know. I mean, I would love to. Yeah, just love to be able to keep doing this for, I don't know, another 12 years maybe, something like that.
Just 12 years and you're out.
12 years and then fucking just like join a cult.
As I say, like that's when you're growing up. And
hop on a rocket ship and fly to the moon. I don't know.
Go behind the comet.
I don't know. I think, it's weird. I've never really had a long-term goal in life. I've always had sort of short-term goals, and it's an interesting way to live. I don't know if I'd really recommend living that way, because it does get you into trouble sometimes. But
I don't know. I had someone like some kind of something on YouTube I saw. They were like, don't go for the long-term goal. Like, do little sustainable things that you can do. Like, they said that was a much better way of living. Like,
it's been a mixed bag. I had a goal for sort of what I wanted to do with my life personally at the age of like 22. And failed in a way that like it's off the table now.
Wow.
Like failed in a way that like, it was like, oh, you're not gonna achieve your goal. And at that point, that's when my focus really shifted to improv, and the goal became make a house team, and then the whole missing out by one spot happened, and then the goal very much became make a house team, and then I achieved that goal, and now just sort of looking for a new goal, I guess, trying to figure out what I want. Yeah. I mean, I guess this is what a lot of people around 21 or 22 do, but 28's a good a time as any to get started on adulthood, right?
I'm 31 and I'm still on that short-term goal. Like,
well, then I guess,
thinking
yeah.
of stuff. So
I'm sure that's where I'll be
I was like,
a couple of years.
in my head, like, I think, oh, Phil Hartman didn't make Saturday Night Live until he was like late 30s.
Oh, I forgot about Phil Hartman.
And now,
I
like,
love him.
And now
Oh, man.
that I'm 30, like I'm turning 32 shortly, like that idea is like, oh wait, that's still really far, like
Yeah.
really close.
Oh,
Or-
yeah. I
but-
find that interesting how you have to keep recalibrating.
Yeah.
I always like James Murphy of LCD Sound System was always my example, because he always said, like, I didn't do shit with my life until I was 26. And then people started liking what I did. And I was like, okay, I got till 26. And now 2 years later,
Yeah, like the other one now is, Phil Hartman was pretty old when he got in the cast, but now you think of Leslie Jones. Didn't hit SNL until like mid 40s.
Yeah.
So like,
and there's always the actor Sidney Greenstreet. He took his first acting role in his 60s and won an Oscar for Maltese Falcon.
oh wow.
So you can always have that number in the distance and keep reminding yourself that everything's going to be okay.
And then
You
at a
know?
certain point, you're just going to run out numbers.
And then, or maybe you die and then it's over and then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, that's not reassuring at all.
Oh boy.
All right, thanks, Drew.
Oh yeah. Well, it's been a blast. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Philly Comedy Wrestling will take the stage and the ring at the Philly Improv Theater on January 26th and 27th at 9 p.m. Tickets and more information are available at the new fitcomedy.com. You can also see Drew with Jillroy on Wednesday nights through the end of February at Fit Comedy. My First Sketch is a Philly Sketchfest production. You can find out more information at phillysketchfest.com or on Twitter at PHLSketchfest. The music on this episode is by the band No No, which you can check out at nonoband.bandcamp.com. Like My First Sketch on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. This is Josh Hyam. Thanks for listening. Go see some comedy.